and death. And I will reign. Is she dead?
Her pulse is weak.
She's crashing. We need to intubate. She'll be okay. Stay with me, Cora. Stay with me.
The governments were overwhelmed by violence, by chaos. Mon-El organized us, and we banded together to help Earth's leaders keep the peace at home and in the stars. We call ourselves the Legion, and we exist because of you.
So, a legion of superheroes. Huh.
Sounds formidable.
Not nearly enough.
Hey guys, Ben here, and welcome back to another video on Supergirl Season 3. So today we're going to be reviewing the Season 3 mid-season finale, also known as Episode 9. So we're going to be talking about the episode, my overall thoughts, and we're going to be covering mainly plots and characters. So overall, this episode was brilliant. I thought it was a class episode, probably one of my favorites of the season and one of my favorites of all time in DC TV. It was the perfect episode to introduce the main villain of the season. If you do go on to enjoy the video, please be sure to leave a thumbs up and subscribe if you're new so you don't miss any Supergirl videos this year. So, like I said before, this episode was great and it just felt like a huge step up. The way the episode was made, the way all the camera shots were actually shot, seemed to be like a whole different perspective on what Supergirl could be like. In the fight scenes especially, that was something that really shone through in this episode, so I'm going to be talking about that. So we're not going to be doing it in chronological order, but Reign versus Supergirl, there was some awesome fight scenes. So we got the introduction of Reign throughout this episode. So obviously we knew it was Samantha from the start of the episode, but Supergirl doesn't know that right now. But we'll talk more about her identity later and how it sort of doesn't really matter who's under that mask. The Christmas music fight scene, how the music was synced into the fight, I thought was excellent considering this was the Christmas episode, but we'll talk more about the Christmas stuff later. But with Kara actually being able to bleed, and she gets truly screwed up by Reign, and it just shows the sheer power that Reign has and how the makers have made Reign into this world killer, that she's stronger than any average Kryptonian like Kara. I have to say Melissa Benoist and Odette Annable, especially Melissa Benoist, did a great acting job, especially in that last scene. With Kara on the verge of death, she did an excellent job, and I have to say the makeup was ace at the end, with her actually being beaten up. I would have played a clip at the start of that final scene where she's actually dropped down, and you guys can see the detail that has gone into the makeup, and I think it was just outstanding, that last scene. It's revealed in this episode Reign has heat vision, and her heat vision is actually red, so red is like the opposite of blue, which Kara has, and also red has connotations of death and blood, and I think that's one main reason why it's actually red. And also her suit is black, so that's the color of death and darkness. So even though I'm not very keen on the mask, I thought the suit looks absolutely great. So throughout the season, I think she's going to turn into this more demonic version of herself, and I think they will get rid of the mask by the end of the season, but that's just a prediction for now. But Supergirl at the end of the episode is dying. She's dropped from the building, and this scene was magical. Probably my favorite scene in the episode was the slow motion drop with the ominous music playing in the background as her body is found. around, and everyone surrounding her is in shock. Is she dead? And then we get a cut and she's back at the DEO and she's being put on the stretcher. It really reminded me of Barry Allen during episode 1 of The Flash when he was on the stretcher. So is she going to survive? Is she not? And Mon-El, Imra and everyone else watches around as Kara potentially dies. So that scene was brilliant and it was full of emotions, because now we have the question, is she going to survive? So the final scene, the cliffhanger, was the Samantha and Ruby ending, as we see Ruby wakes up on Christmas and Samantha is downstairs, and what's going to happen to Ruby, because she turns around and she does it in a way that seems like she's about to attack Ruby. So that actually reminded me of the first Rain scene in season 3, which was the nightmare scene where we actually saw Kara's mum, who wasn't actually of any importance, but the face of Rain actually turns around and it was very similar to that. So the enigma of what's going to happen to Ruby is something that's going to be highly looked upon throughout this break, because Supergirl doesn't return till January the 15th, if you didn't know. So the enigma of who is Rain is something that is not that important, just due to the fact it's just this world killer persona, this Rain persona is all they need, and it only matters of her dispensing her justice. That is what Rain's for. It doesn't matter who is actually doing it, it's just the power of Rain. So Thomas Coville within the episode warns Kara about the prophecy of the world killer, how their signs will actually pop up all around and they will dispense their justice, and then they will go on to change the world as they see fit. So I feel like Rain is definitely one of my favorite villains in DC TV. Even though we've only seen her properly in 1 episode, the build up of Samantha's character and everything just makes it even more powerful. So I'm very excited to see what more Rain stuff we get in the back half of the season. So the Legion is explained. So Kara is the example of what the Legion of Superheroes, what all the members aspire to be like. So Mon-El chose to use Kara as that example. So Mon-El formed the Legion of Superheroes in the 31st century as crime is at a high, and their job is to protect the streets, protect the earth, and also protect the stars. So that's an awesome line. I really enjoyed that line from Imra, and Mon-El is the leader, and obviously Imra's like the co-founder, which he is in the comics, and it's a twist from the Legion of Superheroes being inspired by Superman in the comics, and they actually switched it, so Supergirl's the influence, and it's great. So I'm sure we're going to see Valor in next episode. I think Mon-El might suit up, but I'll talk more about that in my trailer video. So they explain that the team is called the Legion, and the scene where Win actually name drops the Legion of Superheroes, oh, you guys are a Legion of Superheroes. So I was so happy when that actually was dropped. I think that was an excellent line that was delivered by Win. So Kara and Mon-El throughout this episode, obviously they're going through a rough patch, but it's really hard for Kara, and Mon-El actually returns to the bar and they try to talk about it, and Imra and Mon-El at the bar eating all of those ribs. Amy Jackson is such a great actor. I'm really enjoying Imra this season from the small amount of stuff we've got from her. I'm very excited for next episode because it's going to be Legion of Superheroes Reign centered again. So she is ace. Chris Wood did an awesome job. Everyone in this episode was so good, and I just thought overall it was a really good way to end off the first half of the season with this really powerful episode, with this really strong episode. So Imra talks to Kara and she tells her how Mon-El was obsessed with getting home to Kara for years, and how he wouldn't look at any other girl in the eyes because of his attachment to Kara and how much he loved her, but the reason why he moved on was just due to the fact of so many years going past with him not being able to get back. So that's understandable. But the darkness is spreading, that is what Imra said, so we're unsure of what's happening there. And Mon-El and his team were on a mission, and they went through a wormhole accidentally, and they accidentally went back in time. So the thing that Mon-El went through at the end of season 2, so they went into cryosleep as they crash landed on Earth again 12,000 years in the past, and they were set to wake up in the 31st century, but obviously they got woken up early in the 21st century in our time. So I'm guessing we're going to be finding out what the darkness is, because that's probably something that's going to be quite significant in the Legion of Superheroes storyline, and they're going to be trying to get back to the 31st century as it was said in this episode, but I feel like maybe a few of their members will stay back when they actually find out the way to get back home. I think Mon-El and potentially Imra will stay, so I'm very excited because I think these characters are great, even from the small amount that we've seen Imra. Like, Mon-El was great last season. I think he's a massive step up this season, even though he's in a rough patch right now. We're going to see the Legion of Superheroes, so that's awesome. So the Christmas scene was great, where they're all around Kara's apartment, and I loved the Alex and Ruby interactions talking about Supergirl. I thought that was amazing. And Lena and James actually got together in this episode, so I thought that this was kind of cool. They were hinting at at this for the whole episode, so I'm excited to see what they do in the future going forwards with this, because those two characters don't have too much storyline to go on apart from Morgan Edge right now, but I'm very excited for that. So it seems like every time there's a crime, Rain actually gets triggered and becomes her Rain self, and Rain versus the gang members was like a horror film. Like the way it was shot and the way they were taking them down, it was like, who's taking them down? Is it a ghost? And we see like a very Batman-esque shot when Rain's actually flying in the sky and we see the shadow, and it did remind me of, say, the Dark Knight. So that was shot from different perspectives, and I thought the way they actually did it was great, showing all of these different perspectives and how scary Rain could actually be in that situation. So it was very Batman-esque. So the Rain music throughout this episode was very ominous, and it was perfect for the darkness that comes along with her. So this is the last thing that I want to talk about in this video. The normal Kryptonians actually feared Rain's makers because they were delving into stuff that they didn't agree with, obviously making the world killers. I'm sure there's more than one world killer out there, but she's going to be terrifying. She's going to be trying to take over the world. She's going to kill the world. So I'm very excited. I will have a lot of Supergirl videos, guys, so please be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications, because in the break we're still going to be making a lot of videos, so don't go anywhere, guys. So I'll see you guys later. Thank you guys so much for watching, and goodbye.
It doesn't make us strong, it doesn't make us weak.